Welcome to the Mile High Coatings Podcast, where we elevate your spaces to a new peak in quality. Hosted by David Naniga, president of Mile High Coatings, this podcast explores how expert residential painting, concrete coatings, and epoxy flooring can transform garages, basements, patios, and commercial spaces across Colorado's Front Range. So grab your favorite beverage, sit back, and dive into the world of high-quality coatings.
From steep driveways to stairwells, coatings aren't just for flat surfaces. Let's talk about how they perform on slopes and steps. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Julie Schwenzer, co-host and producer in the studio with David Naniga, president of Mile High Coatings. Thanks for joining us again, David.
Hey, Julie.
Hi. So we're excited to be back with you and ready to dig into this question. Can coatings be applied to stairs, ramps, or slope surfaces?
Yes. Short answer, yes. However, there can be some limitations. And so obviously happy to go, kind of review those. So we do steps in nearly every garage floor application that we do. Often steps are made of, wood, MDF, some kind of composite, type of material. And the product that we use bonds wonderfully to wood and OSB, MDF, plywood, whatever. And so we do steps all the time and people love it. I mean, I have my own steps done in my garage and never have an issue. I don't think we've ever had a step failure or any issues related to steps. So specifically with garage steps, absolutely. Probably the trickiest part is when you're talking about a stairway in a house, maybe, from the first level down to a basement. Um, those are tricky because, if those are wood and if we're looking at a stained concrete application, you can't really do that on steps. And so that would create a limitation for sure. I mean, of course, you could do a flake type of application on steps, but aesthetically, it's generally not desirable to do that, and have a totally different sort of application. I will give an example of some interior steps that we did. We just did a fire station floor, and of course, they have a bunch of steps going up to a like a mezzanine area. So of course, they were wood steps, framed out in wood and everything. And we did those. Of course, concrete steps, we can do those. We do a lot of exterior concrete landings and steps and then related to your question regarding slope and ramps, absolutely wheelchair, ADA ramps can be done. And, of course, we want to take safety into account there. And we often will put some traction additive, in those coatings or whatever to, especially outdoors to make sure that, we don't have slip and fall issues. So, and then vertical applications, we do walls, short, tall, whatever, and they do just fine.
And can coatings help improve visibility or contrast on steps?
Yes, absolutely. So we've done a lot of safety striping. Obviously commercial industrial applications. We've done floors where there's lines and there's sort of walkways designated. If it's an industrial or warehouse type of application or manufacturing. Oftentimes if there's forklift traffic or there's just other types of traffic, carts and whatever, you have the safety striping. But then again, even on a residential application, we've done different colors on steps. We've done stripes, yellow, white, red, whatever color that the customer wants, we can do, and we can put those on the edges and everything to create, I guess, and enhance the safety aspect of those applications. So yeah, definitely, it's a good thing, and especially commercial, outdoor commercial types of applications, too. That's a pretty important thing. Obviously, you got handrails on the sides, but then you've got your safety striping on the edges of steps, and yeah, we can easily integrate those and do that often.
Okay, and another question for you, and this is great for clients to know, I think. What prep work is needed before coating a ramp or stairwell? And in other words, when do you need us to not touch that area?
Yeah,
before you start to work and
yeah,
after you start to work.
for sure. So on the concrete, with respect to prep with the application, we would diamond grind the concrete to create profile, and to promote adhesion, of the coating, to the substrate. If you're talking about just wood steps, clean it up, make sure the substrate is clean, dirt free, dust free, and all that, and then we just, you know, coat it. And it's kind of like, you can imagine painting, the steps. So we do those types of applications by hand with brushes and rollers, and so that type of stuff doesn't get sprayed on or anything like that. And as far as keeping off of it, you know, more often than not, assuming you have generally desirable weather, decent weather outside. I mean, the conditions will allow you to walk on it, in a few hours. It could be, for as little as 3 or 4 hours. We always just tell people wait 24 just to err on the side of safety. You just never know. And so in that case, we put some safety tape. Do not walk, wet paint type of application. But that's kind of the typical. We try to keep people off of it for at least a few hours.
Yeah, 24 hours is actually not too bad. I think if people can resist that area, not too
Mhm.
long of a time. And last
Yeah.
question for you. Are there any limitations or surfaces you recommend to clients to avoid?
There's occasionally maybe some steep, walkway or steep, maybe driveway applications that we may recommend avoiding. But generally speaking, when there's steps involved, those have to follow a certain code. Porches and everything are all going to be level for the most part. So for the most part, I would say we don't really avoid too much. I can't think of another specific example where we would say, no, we definitely don't want to coat that because it's too sloped or whatever.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. This was really informative. We appreciate your time, and we'll catch you on the next podcast for more Cody know how.
All right. Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Thanks for tuning in to the Mile High Coatings podcast. Ready to give your space a fresh, durable finish? Visit milehighcoatings.com for a free price quote or call 970-314-1023. At Mile High Coatings, we're not just painting walls, we're setting a new peak in quality. Until next time, keep your standards high and your coatings higher.